All right. In this video, I'll be taking us on correlation coefficient and also the degree of correlation coefficient and the two major method. We have other method to determine correlation coefficient. We are going to take the two methods of calculating correlation coefficients and also how to interpret correlation coefficient and solve some questions. So all you just have to do here is to hit the subscribe button. You can also get our book, our textbook, okay, in this statistics, very important. Okay, now let's try to take the definition of correlation coefficient. Is right. Correlation coefficient can be defined as the degree of measurement between two variables. Correlation coefficient can be defined as the degree of measurement between two variables. Please take note. So class, let's know how to denote correlation coefficient, class. Okay, now correlation coefficient can be denoted as R. Please take note, we use small letter r to denote correlation coefficient. It's always different from coefficient of determination, while we use capital letter R to denote coefficient of determination. Okay, that will be our next topic. But in terms of correlation coefficient, we use small letter r to denote, that is this letter here, to denote correlation coefficient. Okay, so whenever you're asked to determine small letter r, that means in statistics you're asked to calculate correlation coefficient, and the range is ranging from, that is correlation coefficient is ranging from -1 less than or equal to the correlation coefficient less than or equal to 1. That is, the range is between -1 and +1. So but before we start the class here, before we solve some questions here, let's know more about degree of correlation. Please write subheading here, that is degree, sorry for this, degree of correlation. Okay, subheading here, degree of correlation. So we are going to take a note on degree of correlation, and later I explain more about that and give you guys a short way to understand the degree of correlation. Okay, but this is what you should understand here. The degree of correlation will enable us to interpret correlation coefficients. Please listen to me carefully. The degree of correlation will enable us to interpret correlation coefficients. So now let's take the first one here, number 1. Okay, number 1, so that if correlation, that's if R is equal to 1, then the variables are said to have a perfect positive correlation. Please take notes. The next one here is 2. Number 2 here. Okay, let's take the next one. That is if r is equal to -1. If r is equal to -1, then the variables are said to have a perfect negative correlation. Please take note of this, okay? Now the next one here, 3. If r is equal to 0, then the variables are said to have, sorry for this, then the variables are said to have no correlation. For the next one here, if r is equal to 0.5, okay, then the variables are said to have positive moderate correlation. Okay. So 5. If r is equal to, sorry for this, if r is equal to -0.5, then the variables are said, sorry for that, the variable are said to have negative moderate correlation. Okay, now let's take the next one here, 6. Okay, I'm going to interpret this in a simpler term, but let's just try to take their notes, okay? Now the next one, 6. Okay, let me just clean this part here. Please, if you have not subscribed to the channel to get the full video of this topic here, you have to hit the subscribe button, okay, to get the full video of this topic. Okay, you have to hit the subscribe button. Okay, now let's take 6. That is 6. If r is equal to, if r is greater than, all the numbers greater than 0.5 except 1, okay? all the values of r greater than 0.5 except 1, then the variables are said to have strong positive correlation. 7. If r is less than 0.5, please take note of this. What is this now? Of this. If r is less than 0.5, there's all the numbers less than 0.5, then the variables are said to have weak positive correlation. That is, if you have 0.5 except 0, okay? So if you have 0.4, 0.3, 0.2, 0.1, okay, except 0, that value is said to be weak positive correlation. Please take note. So let's take the negative of that. So taking the negative of 0.5, taking the negative of 0.5, okay. So let's take, if r is greater than minus 0.5, okay. Let's take the next one here, 8. If r is less than minus 0.5, then the variables are said to have strong negative correlation. Okay, in this particular value here, remember that minus 0.3 is always greater than minus 0. Let me just say 0.5. Please take note. Minus 0.3 here is always greater than this guy here, so this guy is strong weak correlation. Okay, so that is the interpretation of this statement here. So let's get the next one here. 9. Okay, if r is greater than minus 0.5, then the variables are said to have weak negative correlation. Okay, if you look into the values of, okay, let me just weak negative correlation here. All right, now if you look into these values here are more far from 0, that's positive 0. So these values here are less values to positive. Okay, since it's less value to positive, that means it's going to be a weak negative correlation. Okay, I'm going to interpret this particular statement here. So we have known when the value of R is greater than minus 0.5, we say it's weak negative. So now let's try to know, let's try to understand this here, class. Now this is what the statement is saying here. The first one, the second one, and the third one here. Okay, the summary of this is this. The summary of this is this. Summary of the class here. Let me just have a space here. We have a space. Let me have a space. Okay. Let me just clean this to have a space here. So this is the summary of the degree of correlation. We have two parts. That is, the range is 2. So within the range, there are some values within the range. Let's just get the explanation. Okay. Let's just get the explanation here. Okay. Now, the short way to understand the degree of correlation is to understand the range of correlation. Consider the range of correlation is between -1 less than or equal to R less than or equal to 1. So it means that we have positive part and we have negative part. We have positive part here. Okay. So in terms of -1 is said to be perfect negative correlation. Perfect is just like 1. Okay, it's perfect negative correlation. In terms of +1, we call it perfect positive correlation. Perfect positive correlation. Okay, the next step here is to get the next value other than -1, other than +1. So the next value other than -1 and +1 is said to be divided here by 2. That means half these guys here. The short way to understand is half these guys here, half these guys here. So that means the next correlation other than -1 and 1 is said to be -0.5 less than or equal to R less than or equal to 0.5. Okay, now if you have a value like this, if it is equal to -0.5, we have this to be negative moderate correlation. This maybe equal to plus 0.5, we have this to be positive moderate correlation. Okay, now any value that is less than, just understand this, any value of R here, okay, any value of R that is less than any value of R that is less than -0.5, any value of R that is less than -0.5 should be strong negative correlation. Strong negative correlation. Why? Because this value here is ranging to get to the 0 part compared to when we have R greater than -0.5. Please take note. So R greater than -0.5 is far from 0. So we call this weak. We call this guy here, this one here, we call this one weak negative correlation. This is said to be weak negative. This is weak negative from the word there, negative correlation. Well, this is said to be, this one is said to be strong. Okay, this one is said to be strong negative correlation. Please take note of that. Okay, so the next one here is, if I have a value here that is maybe in terms of positive part of 0.5, if I have a value that is maybe R is greater than 0.5, we call it strong positive correlation. We call this here strong, we call this strong positive correlation. Please take note. So if arrow here is less than 0.5, we call this weak positive correlation. So we have we have 6 ways here to understand all the values. That is, the first way here is when it is perfect. That is this guy here. When it's perfect is this one here, either -1 or 1. Okay, when it is maybe strong negative or strong positive. Okay, strong negative or strong positive. That is this one here. Okay, this one. We also have moderate negative and moderate positive. Okay, the next one here is strong positive or what? Negative weak positive. Okay, which is this one here. Okay, so from this we have summarized the degree of correlation. So the next thing here is to know how to calculate correlation coefficient. Please take note of this. In calculating correlation coefficient, we have 2 major methods, and the first one here is said to be Pearson product moment correlation coefficient. The first one here is said to be Pearson product moment correlation coefficient. The second one here is said to be Spearman's ranking correlation. Spearman's ranking correlation. Okay, now let's try to take the method of correlation here. Please write method of correlation. So these are the method we use in calculating correlation coefficients. Let's take the method of correlation here. We have others though, but the major one we use in calculating them are the 2 I'm going to give to us here. Okay, method of correlation here. Okay, method, sorry for this. Okay, method of calculating correlation, coefficients of correlation. Okay, let's get the first method here, class 1. We say Pearson. Please take note of this: Pearson product moment correlation. That's Pearson product moment correlation coefficient. In bracket we have this to be PPMCC. Please take note. The second one here we have Spearman's ranking correlation. The second one here we have Spearman's ranking correlation, or you can call this ranking correlation. Okay, so in our next video we are going to know how to calculate coefficient of correlation using either PPMCC and Spearman's ranking correlation. Okay, all you just have to do is to hit the subscribe button, or you can get our material. The link will be posted there. This is our material here. On this is for chi-square. Okay, we also have other one here. Okay, just get the material in order to maybe to have more of this class. Let me just, okay, this is material here. Okay, you can just get more of them, more of the questions here. Okay, thank you so much, I really appreciate it.